Hey folks, Dex here, and thanks for joining me. This is going to be the first video in a series of videos that I plan to put out, where I go over some of the more common units from Dust 1947. In these videos, I plan to go over not only the unit's statistics in-game, but also how it's presented in the lore and how that ties into the various factions that use these vehicles. Now, as you've probably already guessed from the picture, the first vehicle that I plan to cover is the M1 Light Assault Walker. Now, before we get started, I should point out that, like many of the other units in Dust, the lore for these vehicles is a bit scattered and found in many different sourcebooks, and over the years has changed slightly. I was able to find a good deal of information on an online wiki for Dust 1947, however, much of the information there is a bit dated, and unfortunately there were no citations for much of the stuff that was listed there, so we kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. With that out of the way, the M1 series Light Assault Walker are force recon units that are designed to provide support for ground forces. The M1 chassis is light, easy to produce, and relatively inexpensive. These factors allow the Allies to produce huge numbers of these vehicles, mass producing them in the factories of Detroit and Toronto, and moving them to all theaters of war. The sheer number of light walkers that the United States can produce offsets any advantages that the Axis walkers have in technological supremacy. The M1 chassis is versatile and has been adapted to many different battlefield roles, with different weapons configurations for different jobs. With these considerations in mind, let's look at the various configurations of the M1 Walker. So, first up we have the M1D Wildfire. This could probably be considered the standard M1 model walker. Armed with quad 50 caliber machine guns, the Wildfire is a significant threat to both aircraft and enemy infantry, as well as light vehicles of Class 1 and Class 2. While technically the Wildfire can damage Class 3 vehicles, with only 2 dice dealing 1 damage, it's not really an effective combatant against these threats. Like all other M1s, the Wildfire has a move of 3 and a march move of 6, meaning that it can move around the battlefield relatively easily. Its biggest advantage, however, is the fact that it has the Advanced Reactive Fire skill, allowing it to interrupt the action of other units within its arc of fire. The Wildfire is a cheap and effective anti-aircraft unit that can basically be slotted in with other heavier units to give them some defense against flying threats, as well as massed infantry. However, the Wildfire is very vulnerable to small arms fire from even infantry troops, and anti-vehicle weapons are almost assuredly going to destroy it in a single hit. One significant advantage to the Wildfire, like many walkers, is that it has a single person as a pilot. This means that it does away with having a large vehicle crew of 3 or 4 people and allows a single soldier to command a large amount of firepower. This does have the downside, however, of overloading that single trooper with a lot of jobs on his plate. As mentioned previously, the armament of the Wildfire is quad 50 caliber machine guns. I should note that in Dust 1947, the standardized 50 caliber machine gun is called the Victory and appears to be based off the Browning M2. Next up, we have the M1C Honey, a phaser-armed walker, which provides some anti-vehicle capabilities above what the standard M1D's machine guns are capable of. Armed with dual 120-watt medium phaser guns, the Honey can damage any vehicle in the game, as well as all infantry units. The Honey has the same movement and armor profile as the Wildfire, with 3 move, 6 march move, vehicle 2, and 4 health. Where it truly differs, however, is in its armament. The dual phasers can be fired one after the other for a standard attack, giving each gun a chance to recharge after the previous one had fired, or both can be used at the same time with the salvo skill. Given the fragile nature of the M1, being able to deliver a single devastating attack is in its best interest, because the M1 can't afford to stick around and slug it out with larger opponents. It needs to get in, get a decent hit in, and either destroy the enemy unit or withdraw. Staying in one spot in the open is a death sentence. The phaser's ability to bypass cover saves allows it to be effectively used against infantry. Still, even with the salvo, it's only rolling 8 dice. And while this might be effective against some squads that have already taken damage, chances are you don't want to stick around to find out what their response is going to be. The Honey is the most expensive M1, coming in at 9 points, where all other versions are 7. Next up, we have the M1D Bushmaster. Now, unlike the other walkers, this M1 model is exclusive to the USMC. Armed with both a .30 caliber machine gun and a pair of recoilless rifles, the Bushmaster is actually a threat to both infantry and vehicles. Unlike the Honey, however, the Bushmaster strives when fighting light or medium vehicles and will struggle against anything heavier than Vehicle 4. This is largely due to the fact that the dual recoilless rifles are going to get to roll 2 dice on any target up to Vehicle 4, but only 1 dice on heavier units of Vehicle 5 and above. The machine gun is going to be useful against all forms of infantry and vehicles up to Class 1 and 2. Now, I'm going to take this opportunity to point out that there is a unique M1 called the Rattlesnake. However, I've actually never seen a model for it, and as far as I can tell, it's essentially just a Bushmaster with a pilot using a submachine gun. The Bushmaster is probably one of my favorite M1 walkers, simply because its mix of weapons allow it to do the job that you're going to expect it to do. It can get in behind the enemy and hit any type of vulnerable targets that it's able to find. Its combination of low unit cost, high movement rate, and good weapons profile make it an easy vehicle to slot into any USMC force. Unfortunately, from a lore perspective, I actually wasn't able to find any information on this variant at all, besides what we have in the app. From what I can tell, it's essentially just the USMC doing what it does, adapting the equipment that it's got on hand to fulfill the job. And finally, we have the M1B Blackhawk. Now, the Blackhawk is a departure from all previous M1s, and it's actually not uncommon for people to think that this is a completely different walker. In reality, the Blackhawk is just your standard M1 that has been fitted with a lightly armored cockpit so that the pilot isn't exposed. Now, because this Blackhawk has the enclosed cockpit, it's actually a Vehicle 3 instead of a Vehicle 2, making the Blackhawk much less susceptible to things like small arms fire. Now, it's still likely to be destroyed by concentrated anti-tank weapon fire. Even things like Panzerfausts are likely to destroy it in one hit. But machine guns are going to have a much harder time destroying the unit now, as well as things like mortars. Like the Bushwhacker, I wasn't able to find much in the way of lore regarding this vehicle. However, given the enhanced armor present on the vehicle and the weapon system that it's equipped with, I think we can make a few assumptions about it. The Blackhawk is equipped with a pair of heavy dual Piat launchers. For those that are unaware, the Piat was a British anti-tank weapon. It in fact stands for Projectile Infantry Anti-Tank. These weapons threw a large, powerful warhead, but were incredibly short-ranged. The weapons on the Blackhawk share these features. They're very effective against armored targets or even infantry that it's dug in and cover. With Double Blast and the Grenade Special rule, the Blackhawk is a legitimate threat to infantry units. Against heavily armored foes, the Blackhawk is even better, rolling multiple dice and dealing significant damage all the way up to Vehicle 7. From a lore standpoint, I feel like it makes total sense that they would have enclosed the pilot in some type of protection given the weapon that the Blackhawk is equipped with. If you've got high explosives flying off of such a lightly armored walker, and your pilot is completely exposed, you run the risk of them being killed by shrapnel from their own weapons. In addition, given the close-range nature of the vehicle's weapons, I suspect that it was probably intended for things like city fighting, and in those type of environments, you're increasing the likelihood of flying projectiles. It's important to note, however, that the Blackhawk does have the reload special rule, which means after you fire its weapons, you're going to need to spend another action to reload them before you can fire again. Much like with the Honey, you're going to want to get the Blackhawk into a position to hit a high-value target. Unfortunately, the short range of the Blackhawk's weapon make this a little bit more difficult than with the Honey. Still, in my experience, the move of 3 combined with the range of 4 means that the Blackhawk can almost always get into position to get a good shot off on something. The boost in survivability by going up to Vehicle 3 with no increase in points over the Wildfire or the Bushwhacker makes the Blackhawk a very attractive choice. It's my hope that at some point we will actually see an M1 Walker platoon for Dust 1947. I would love to see one that's along the same lines as the M3 platoon, perhaps giving them the scout skill or something similar. Taken as a whole, the M1 Walkers offer a fantastic value for Allied players. The heavier Allied Walkers will often get the fame and attention, but the reality is that it's very frequently the smaller M1 Walkers that are getting a large part of the work done. So that's going to wrap it up for this video on the M1 Light Assault Walkers. This is obviously a new format for me and something a little different than what I'm used to doing, and frankly, a little bit different than what I'm comfortable doing. So I thought that this would be a nice test bed to try out something a bit different and maybe see what people's opinions are. And like always, I hope that everybody is having a good time, enjoying Dust, and staying healthy out there. Thanks.